Good afternoon. My name is Bruno Zagar. Welcome to another section of the MTERA conference, and we're happy to have you in attendance and to share information with tribes and other stakeholders. The purpose of this panel is to hear about tribal energy programs offered by the Department of Energy, Department of Interior, Division of Energy and Mineral Development, and the USDA. Our panelists today will be Lizana Pierce. She's stationed in Colorado and serves as the principal engineer, expert for, and the director and deputy director of the U.S. Department of Energy, Office of Indian Energy Program and Deployment Programs. Mrs. Pierce is responsible for implementing the office deployment program, technical assistance, financial assistance, and education and capacity building. Gibby Kolonowski is the senior advisor for U.S. Department of Energy and Office of Indian Energy is stationed in Anchorage, Alaska. He's responsible for the integration and interagency support of tribes and Alaskan Native corporations advancing their energy equities. Peyton Batliner and will be joining us also, and he's the economic development specialist with the Department of Interior, Division of Energy and Mineral Development. He has worked at the EMD since 2009. He works across all commodity groups in the division and specializes in business planning, financial analysis, and tribal utility formation. He is an enrolled member of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma and was born on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Josh Gregory will be joining us also. He is a renewable energy specialist with the Department of Interior, Division of Energy and Mineral Development. Josh has been doing contract work with the EMD since 2015 and is currently employed by Ho Chunk Inc. Brenda Heinen is the Rural Energy Coordinator for U.S. Department of Agriculture and Rural Development in Menominee, Wisconsin. She has 29 years of federal service with the USDA, delivering a variety of funding resources to tribal entities. She currently oversees the Rural Energy for America Loan and Grant Program. So let's start off with Lizana Pierce.
Thank you. First, I want to thank MTERA for the invitation, and also for those of you attending. Thank you for your interest and your time and attention. I don't have a lot of time, so I apologize in advance as I speed through this. But be aware that much of the information is on our website at energy.gov/Indian Energy. Next slide, please. I do want to say that I've been in the energy realm for the last 25 plus years, and have had the pleasure and privilege of working with Indian tribes and many Alaska Native villages for over 20 years. Next slide, please. Specifically, the office is charged by Congress to promote Indian energy development, efficiency and use, reduce or stabilize energy costs, enhance and strengthen Indian tribal energy and economic infrastructure, and to bring electrical power and service to Indian lands and homes. We're a very small office. We have actually 10 federal employees at the moment, some duty stationed in Washington, D.C. I'm in Golden, Colorado, and Gibby, who will be speaking next, is duty stationed in Anchorage, Alaska. Next slide, please. As the deployment specialist for the Office of Indian Energy, I'm charged with executing the deployment program, which includes financial assistance through competitive grants, technical assistance offered at no charge to Indian tribes and eligible tribal entities, and education and capacity building. These three prongs are intended to assist Indian tribes and other tribal entities overcome the unique regulatory, technical, and economic challenges to developing their vast energy resources, if and how they choose. Next slide, please. With respect to financial assistance between 2010 and 2019, the office has invested nearly $85 million in more than 180 tribal energy projects, and these projects were valued at over $180 million. You can see from the amount of funds in the last nearly 10 years, we've averaged about $8.5 million a year, relatively small amount, and I believe has made a real impact in many tribal communities and continues to provide benefits to those communities year after year for the life of those energy systems. For example, the 9 projects selected in 2020 represent the potential for over 3.7 megawatts of new installed generation to power over 180 tribal buildings. Combined, the lifetime savings of $24 million. And in 2019, the Office of Indian Energy provided nearly $22.5 million to 27 tribal energy projects valued at $60 million. Those represented 19 megawatts of new energy generation and saving those communities $9 million each year. You can learn more about any of these projects. See our website. It has a sortable project database table, interactive map, summary of each of and every project, annual presentations, final reports for those projects that are completed. There's also a project success page that will highlight some of those projects. Next slide, please. During that same time frame, the Office of Indian Energy invested $15.6 million in 31 tribal energy projects in the Midwest. Those are valued at $24.3 million, and I'm sure there are a few of those tribes represented here today. Next slide, please. So our funding opportunity announcement has been typically for installing energy hardware for generation on facility or community scale, implementing energy efficiency measures, deploying systems for autonomous operations, microgrids, if you will, for emergency shelter or community resilience, and infrastructure or microgrids for electrifying unelectrified tribal buildings. A sample of the topic areas from the most recent FOA are shown here, but remember each and every FOA may be different and have different topic areas. Next slide, please. So shown here is just a few examples of tribes in Alaska, New York, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Colorado who have deployed energy technology within their communities. And yes, I did include the Wisconsin picture for Mike. You know who you are, Trogi. Next slide, please. So another resource is our annual program review, which is a forum, I think a unique forum for tribes to meet, share, and learn from each other. On average, you'll hear 40 to 50 different tribal energy projects, case studies highlighted. The forum is also open to anyone in Indian country interested in attending, hopefully in person next year. Typically, we have this review held in the fall in Colorado. Next slide, please. There are also a number of resources online on our website, which include an energy development assistance tool, provides general information on grant, loan, and technical assistance programs available from more than 10 federal agencies. Obviously, with new legislation and the new acts coming, there's going to be a lot of changes to that as well. There's also current funding opportunities page that will try to keep current with energy-related funding from any source, not just DOE. This page also includes ongoing opportunities and technical assistance resources. You may also be interested in subscribing to our email newsletter to receive notifications of funding opportunities, upcoming events, or other tribal energy-related resources. And you can subscribe from our main page on our website at energy.gov/Indian Energy. Next slide, please. So besides financial assistance, the office also offers technical assistance at no cost to tribes and eligible tribal entities, which includes providing technical advice and assistance from energy experts. It's designed to help move your project forward or to help in your energy planning efforts. Technical assistance requests can be submitted online, again, through our website and by completing just a few simple questions. Next slide, please. So there's a wealth of information on our website at the URL shown. Information resources include an energy resource library with tons of different publications, online curriculum. We also offer monthly webinars and periodic web workshops, part of the webinar of the 2021 series starts tomorrow at 11 o'clock Mountain, and it's on planning for a changing climate. So please join us if you're interested. Another resource is Tribal Energy Atlas. It's a first of its kind interactive geospatial application that enables tribes to conduct their own analysis of installed energy projects and resource potential in tribal lands. Next slide, please. And here are just more examples of tribal energy projects co-funded by the office and executed by the tribes to reach their vision. Again, final thought, our mission really is basically to assist tribes and tribal communities in achieving their energy vision. Next slide, please. So I know that was quick, but thank you so much for your time and attention. I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to help tribal communities achieve their energy visions over the last 20 plus years. They're making a difference in Indian country and especially people's lives. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome Gibby to do his presentation.
Okay, thank you, Bruno. I'm going to make some brief remarks on MTERA and its overall initiative for DOE Indian Energy Intertribal Capacity Building Program, what's bringing us here today for the focus of the meeting and the workshop. 6 years ago, our office came up with the concept of trying to approach energy development in a new way and not simply put money towards projects, but try to go on the very front end and see if we could help inspire building capacity to a point where communities at the regional level are able to develop their own projects with the support of our office and other federal and state agencies. And from 2016 until the end of this fiscal year, we've had a cohort of 8 grantees that had an investment of about $7 million into the initiative. And we're starting to see some trend lines emerging from that of what's worked well, what could be improved next time we do a program like this, or if we internalize it and capacity building becomes one of the functions of the office, which we're talking about that right now. We're looking at white papers and looking at analysis to see really what are the lessons learned from this experience. And I think MTERA is a great example because MTERA was created to apply for this grant because no capacity existed in the Midwest. So just by virtue of getting engaged with the Department of Energy, the Midwest got on the map through this program. And I think some of the things that we're seeing now that's really important is we need to be able to define what capacity is. And I think if we were to go around this call, everybody would have a general understanding of what it is, but a slightly different definition. And that's one of the things we're working on right now is to standardize our approach to planning and training and what exactly is the capacity that we're seeking to build. I would compare it to a tunnel that while the inputs and outputs will vary greatly, there are many roads that lead to a tunnel, but there's only one way through the tunnel, through the process. And then on the other side, you'll go to all different locations and destinations. But the tunnel, the standardization, the process of what we're trying to accomplish, I think has worked well. We have seen this on many levels. I've seen it through my site trips to the Midwest to meet with MTERA and go attend your past workshops and conferences. I've seen it in the reporting, quarterly reporting, and your financial information that we review and we approve. And I think there's a common picture here that as the organizations have built their own internal capacity, they're able to better deliver external capacity to the tribes across their respective regions. I think another success of this program has been the mobility capability that the grant included travel funds to go to meetings and also travel within your own region. I know that Mike and Bruno and others, Sarah Drescher, have traveled on site to different tribes to help them with projects. And that's really the concept behind this grant that we had, the FOA that was back in 2016 to look at how can we utilize existing tribal experts to train others to be more successful, more capable in what they're doing. We've also seen in this process that blended expertise is really important. You cannot solve people issues with a strictly engineering approach, and you can't solve engineering problems without engineers. So you need a balance, and we've seen that. I know MTERA has personally done this with having NREL get involved. So you've got engineering expertise and the social science side of things that can engage with local communities and with local people help build consensus-based decisions, and help communities get on a pipeline for project development. We've seen technical assistance requests from MTERA tribes, which is a good sign, as well as the other grantees in this program, which shows that people are maximizing their capabilities. And once they realize they need more capacity, they're not afraid to reach out and get additional help from our department or other program partners. And then I think probably the two most important things that I have seen in this program has been the concept of mobile training teams and train the trainer through the contractors that you have hired at MTERA and through the strategic planning you did at the beginning of the program. We find ourselves today in a situation where you are able to deliver training across your region in a highly effective and efficient manner and train local people at the different reservations and different organizations on the skills that are most essential for what they need to do in order to advance energy development. We've also seen that this mobile training team and train the trainer approach has worked across the cohorts of intertribal organizations. Similar to what Lizana was talking about, a peer review. There's also a peer review for the cohort of intertribal capacity building grantees. And in many cases there, the leadership of the different organizations cross-tell, benchmark best practices, and share lessons learned that everybody can adopt when they go back home. And this has worked really, really well. It sets the stage for future activities, especially when the early adopters are identified and trained for energy work. And the last component that I think has been really important to this initiative has been a modular and scalable capability set or packages that none of the grantees went full board right off the bat. It took them a while to get up to speed, which was a smart thing to do because it allowed them to develop their own internal capacities and controls to be able to offer support and services. And the MTERA model is really good when you look at WeGoWise or some of the other initiatives that MTERA has taken on. They were scaled to the community's needs, and they were modular that could be replicated from community to community, but also tailored to the specific needs. So the process was the same, but the methodology employed in each of the locations was different. And I think that's the flexibility that this program has brought. I don't know where the future of this program is going to be, if we're going to have another FOA like this or not. Like Lizana said, they change year to year what we focus on. But this general concept is a usable concept. And I'm developing white papers on the history of the program and also the successes so far. We'll be able to share this information. At the end of every grant, there is a closeout process, which includes a final report. And based on the first grantee that closed out, I think these are really useful documents that you can find through the OSDI website that allow you to see really what is the most important information that has come from this initiative and how can you adapt it to your local community, to your local tribe, and also collectively for where you have opportunities for collective action, you have the chance to build on everybody else's best practices. So with that, I thank you for your time and I look forward to your questions later.
Thank you, Gibby. We need to move on to Josh right away and then Peyton from the Department of Division of Energy and Mineral Development. Please go ahead, Josh.
Great, thanks, Bruno. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, everybody. Great, okay, yeah. First, I want to thank the MTERA board for including us in this conference. MTERA is an excellent network of knowledge and resources for tribal nations. And I know that the Division of Energy and Mineral Development looks forward to being considered one of those resources for a long time to come. So thank you, and thanks to all who are in attendance today as well. I'm Josh Gregory. I'm an engineer with the Division of Energy and Mineral Development, or DEMD, and I've been with them for the past 6 years now, working within the branch of renewable and distributed generation there. Excuse me. Today I'm going to be joined by Peyton Batliner. Many of you may already know him. Peyton is an economic development specialist who heads up DEMD's branch of business services. He also directs the Tribal Energy Development Capacity Grant Program, otherwise known as TEDC. And he'll be presenting after me to give a more detailed overview of the TEDC program and its eligible activities. Just a quick overview of our agenda. And when Peyton finishes up, please do get our contact info. And the next time you're planning a project, I sincerely hope that you do give us a call, because we are at the ready to assist. DEMD is located in Lakewood, Colorado. We're just outside of Denver. And as you can see, we're a division within the Department of Interior's Indian Affairs. Our office consists of several branches that include the branch of Renewable and Distributed Generation, the branch of Business Services, the Solid Minerals branch, the Fluid Minerals branch, and the NIOGEMS branch. NIOGEMS stands for National Indian Oil and Gas Energy and Minerals System. DEMD's programs and services are free, exclusive resources for American Indian tribes and Alaska Native villages. And all these programs are designed for the purpose of assisting with driving economic development through your energy and mineral resource development. So we have 2 tribal energy and mineral development grant programs that offer funding opportunities on an annual basis. And we also offer technical assistance services as well year-round. Our Energy and Mineral Development Program Grant, or EMDP, is an annual funding opportunity that tribes can utilize to plan, to evaluate, and to promote the development of your energy and mineral resources. Historically, we've been able to fund about $6 million on average on an annual basis for EMDP projects. That's never a given though, but that's just how it's been for the past several years. Our Tribal Energy Development Capacity, or TEDC, program grant is an annual funding opportunity as well that tribes can utilize to develop tribal managerial, organizational, and technical capacity, mainly for the purpose of maximizing the economic impact of resource development on Indian land. And Peyton will be giving a more in-depth overview of this program in a moment. Our technical assistance services are, of course, free as well. The examples you see there on the screen, those are generalized to our division as a whole. And because we do have several branches, the technical assistance that each branch can provide will be unique. So I do encourage you to get in touch with us to get more detail on those services. An important note about the EMDP grant, the awarded funds through the EMDP grant can only be used for a scope of work within the pre-construction stage of energy and mineral resource development. So I'm just going to briefly go over some of the typical activities that are eligible for funding through the EMDP program. So preliminary resource assessments and exploration studies, these have the purpose of identifying the quality as well as the quantity of the resource of interest, and really to primarily identify projects with a high potential for meeting tribal leadership's goals and objectives through the development of that resource. Feasibility studies, all manner of feasibility work from pre-feasibility planning to investment grade feasibility reports are covered. These can include market analyses, which would be necessary to establish demand and offtake. And they definitely should include detailed project economics, which is of course necessary for project financing. And also detailed project engineering specifications and design are also covered by EMDP funds. Again, really all manner of pre-development work necessary to get your project to the stage of getting financed and built is going to be eligible for EMDP funding. One last note, unfortunately, funds cannot cover equipment purchase and related construction, but you can leverage your EMDP project outcomes to target the Department of Energy's Tribal Energy Infrastructure Deployment Funds, as well as some USDA programs to help get your project built. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Peyton.
Thanks, Josh. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. All right. Hopefully everybody can see this. As Josh referenced before, the second grant program that DEMD has available to tribes is the Tribal Energy Development Capacity Program, the TEDC grant program, which is an annual grant. And as you can see on the screen, we have, we award about 1.5, sometimes 1 million, depending on our annual budget, to tribes. And, you know, we usually give away about $100,000 per project, but that is not a set number. Of course, we're a very flexible program. So you can see the range of awards that we've made over the years on this slide. So let's see, it's a very competitive program. We consistently get asked for more money than we have available to issue to tribes. And you can see on this slide how much we've awarded and how much we've been asked for and how much we've been unable to fund, unfortunately. So there's a really, really big unmet need that we would love to have more funding to issue to tribes for these project activities. So what exactly can we do with this grant program? We can do two primary things: establish business entity structures and organizational structures, and develop, number two is develop regulatory structures for energy development. So these are some of the very front end things that need to be done in order to develop energy projects. So developing legal infrastructure, drafting utility codes, charters, bylaws, right? These things that are essential for tribal councils to adopt prior to engaging in building energy projects. Also, we can assist with some of the ancillary regulatory development, which includes secure transaction codes, Hearth Act development, and land leasing regulations that, you know, would help tribes facilitate energy development. So if you can imagine it, we can probably fund it if it fits within these large, you know, organizational or managerial or regulatory development activities. So we've funded a little bit of everything, but I highlight on this slide, especially for MTERA, is the establishment of utility authorities. We've been doing a lot of work in that space over the last 5 years. And this is kind of branching out into that microgrid space that a lot of tribes are interested in also. So we give away grants all over the nation and to Alaska. We're missing many of our grants on this slide because I think it's a year behind. We just did another issuance of a grant round. So I know we've issued in the Midwest region, specifically to Leech Lake and Red Lake just recently. So a couple tribes are not on this map, but it just gives you an idea of, you know, the geographical array of projects that we have funded. So I just want to take a little time. I know Givy spoke a little bit about capacity development, and maybe I'll touch on, you know, what this grant program envisions for capacity development. But one thing I want to highlight, especially to tribal leaders, is that we, through our studies of utilities and energy spending in general for tribes, we've seen that tribes are on average spending between $2 to $3 million a year on electric power alone. That doesn't include water, wastewater, broadband, other utility expenses that tribes often incur. So this can range on the low side from a couple $100,000 for a smaller tribe, all the way up to 20 million plus for large casino resort tribes. So the range is huge here, but the need and importance of focusing on this energy spend is also huge. So if you extrapolate these numbers to all federally recognized tribes, this is really about a $1 to $2 billion annual market for just energy purchases. And we have to highlight that all of this money, generally, unless there's tribes who have established their own utilities, all of this money and this cash flow is going through a third-party incumbent utility who may or may not have the best interests of tribes in mind. So it's extremely important for tribes to take a more active, more engaged management role in these assets and in this power market. So developing utilities, looking at your utility bills, and you know, Jake often shows a great slide at MTERA events that starts with just paying your bills, and then it moves through a capacity development process that's, all right, let's look at our bill. Let's understand what we're paying, why we're paying it, and who we're paying it to. And then let's get a little more engaged and think about, hey, do we want to maybe take over some billing functions? Do we want to think about being a power producer? Do we want to be thinking about doing energy efficiency and be a little bit more active and engaged in our energy activities? And then get to that innovative stage where, hey, you're fully managing potentially all of your energy assets. You're producing your own energy, or you're purchasing your own power through wholesale markets. And there's a extremely wide range of activities that tribes can do in the utility space, and every tribe is different. So it's important to study this. And I think that, I have a very limited amount of time, but please give us a call if you're thinking about applying for our programs. If you're interested in utility development or energy development, we're DEMD and DOE. We are often the first stops for tribes. So please don't be hesitant to call us. Let us know what you're thinking about, and we can point you in the right direction for programming. So for that, I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Peyton and Josh. Appreciate all the good information. Next, we're going to hear from Brenda. If you want to go ahead and pull up your PowerPoint, and let's get started. Thank you.
All right. Is my PowerPoint okay? Sorry, it doesn't look. 1 second, please. Oh boy. Is it coming across, MJ or Bruno?
I don't see it yet. MJ, we can work on it. In the meantime, I was just going to say, between Josh and Peyton with the DEMD, Division of Energy Mineral Development Office, they've been very helpful for quite a few tribes, especially with our utility at Fond du Lac and different projects we're working on in biomass. And we come in conjunction with grants with USDA also, through the state office. Here we go. We got you.
All right, thank you.
You betcha.
All right, Brenda Heinen, the Wisconsin Rural Energy Coordinator with USDA Rural Development. I'm going to talk about some of the federal energy programs that we offer. Please note that these programs are offered nationwide. There is a rural energy coordinator in each state. The program I will start with is the Rural Energy for America program. This program has grants and loans available for installing renewable energy and energy efficiency improvement type projects. So under the REAP program, we have two components. We have the one side, which is called the RES, Renewable Energy Systems, and we have the energy efficiency improvement projects that are eligible. And these are grants and guaranteed loans, and the eligible applicants can be agricultural producers and small businesses. Also, tribes are eligible if they have a tribal corporation, maybe one that's formed under Section 17.
Excuse me, Brenda,
Yes,
do you have slides?
is it not working?
Yeah, we see your face, but not your slides.
Okay, it came up and asked me if, I apologize. It came up and asked me, the host asked me
Brenda, I will share your slides for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for the technical difficulties we're having here.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Okay, got them. Thank you.
Thanks,
okay.
Mike.
Just tell me when to switch, Brenda.
Yes, could you move it ahead one more slide, please? Okay, here's where I was discussing the type of assistance that the Rural Energy for America program can provide. On the one side, it's the Renewable Energy Systems and Energy Efficiency Improvement Grant loans. Also, under the EA Energy Audit and Renewable Energy Development Assistance Grants, what we refer to as EA RETA. Here, universities and tribal entities can apply, and you can provide the energy audits yourself if you have staff. Otherwise, you can contract out and have that done. Energy audits are needed for our energy efficiency type projects to tell us what the energy savings are. And then on the energy development side of that program, we could actually fund a feasibility study, for example. Go ahead, move it forward, please. So who's eligible? Agricultural producers is one eligible type of applicant. So if 50% or more of the agricultural income is from ag production, an applicant could apply as an ag producer, or you can apply as a rural small business. And under the rural small business, we have to use the SBA size standard tables. So the Small Business Administration sets our size standards of who qualifies as a small business. And every business receives a classification. So if you're in like retail, for example, it might have a threshold of total annual receipts, and you might have to be under $1 million, for example, to be eligible. And a manufacturer, it might be the number of employees. So it might be under 500 employees to be considered small. In addition to ag producers and small businesses, though, what I was referring to is tribes. Some tribes have a tribal corporation. They could be an eligible applicant as well. And I believe they're chartered under Section 17. That would make them an eligible applicant in the REAP program. Please advance the slide. So here we're just talking about the different types of energy efficiency types of projects. They can be from anywhere from LED lighting, heating and cooling HVAC systems, ventilations, fans, automated controls, variable speed drives, insulation. And all of our projects have to be commercially available technologies like the last speaker spoke of. It can't be first of a kind research and development. Advance the slide, please. And we can also fund renewable energy systems. We have a lot of interest in solar PV. We can do solar thermal, wind, hydroelectric, anaerobic digesters. We're getting a lot of interest right now where our cow dairies want to switch from producing electricity with their digester. They want to switch it over to renewable natural gas. So we're seeing an uptick in interest in that area. We can fund like woody biomass projects, geothermal, and then also wave and ocean power projects. Advance the slide, please. This slide just also reiterates, what we can do with manufacturing, with LED lighting, or greenhouses. We're seeing some interest for solar thermal curtains, poultry farms, again, lighting, fans, things like that. Irrigation systems, we are seeing some interest in switching from diesel to electric motors with those variable speed drives. Advance the slide, please. So to talk about something that we were successful with in Wisconsin, Menominee Tribal Enterprise was our first grant that we were able to award under the REAP program back in 2013. We were able to provide a $250,000 grant. And as the last speaker spoke about too, we all partnered in there, and we have focus on energy funding and U.S. Forest Service and Department of Energy and so forth, and Bureau of Indian Affairs, all went into that combined heat and power system. And there was, significant savings, and they could create electricity and heat. Next slide, please. And I should just mention, MTE was the Charter 17 Corporation. That's why they were able to apply to REAP, and they were successful in getting that award. So what is available? We have loans and grants. Loan guarantees are offered by a bank. We're providing the lender a guarantee if there's a loss. So if you come in for a loan only, we can fund up to 75% of that project cost. If it's a grant only, it's 25%. And then if you want to do a combination grant and loan, we can never exceed 75%. And the rates and terms are all negotiated between the bank and the applicant. Rural Development does not set those. Please advance. Here it's just letting you know if you come into us for a 25% grant, we're going to want to know where's the other 75% coming from. And vice versa, if you do a loan and grant combination, where's the other 25% coming from? You know, we have an application that you have to put together, include the technical report. We're doing those proven available commercial technologies. That's the type of things we're funding. Energy efficiency projects, I mentioned you need an energy audit or report telling us what the savings are going to be if you're going to implement that project. And then we do require feasibility studies on the renewable energy side if the grant requests are greater than 200,000. And on the energy efficiency side, the grant maximum is 250,000. On the renewable energy side, the maximum grant request can be 500,000. Advance the slide. So just to go back on that other part of REAP, where we can do the EA and RETA assistance, these grants are to a tribal entity, for example, could apply, and you can submit one EA or one RETA grant application each fiscal year. We can't do combination requests, and you cannot exceed $100,000 in that grant request. And what the idea of EA RETA is to get projects implemented, you know, get them started, figure out, does it make sense for an energy efficiency project? Are you going to save energy? Or does it make sense for a renewable energy system? Or is it a good place to put solar? Is it a good time to put in a genset to make electricity, that kind of thing? So this grant is to try to jumpstart those projects, for them to come in then for the full facility funding under the other renewable energy system energy efficiency improvement grant part of the program. Advance the slide. I also wanted to mention quick, we do have a Section 9005 Advanced Biofuel Payment Program. And what this program does, it pays biofuel producers a quarterly payment. And one of our recipients here in Wisconsin that we work with is the Forest County Potawatomi Digester Project that's using food waste to make electricity. They're in the program and they're getting a quarterly payment. Some other users in the program, they could be making biodiesel or wood pellets. The payment amount per quarter is always different because we don't know how many users are going to apply to the program, and we don't know what their production numbers are. But again, this would be another program that tribes could take advantage of or look at this opportunity. Next slide, please. And then, you know, USDA rural development, I was just on a call this morning. We have over 60 different programs we are delivering. They're not all energy related, but you know, we have value-added producer grants that can provide technical assistance and planning grants. We have rural business development grants that are revolving loan funds or technical assistance. We have community facilities loan and grant programs, and I believe here in Wisconsin, Lac du Flambeau has used that program to install solar on their nature resource center. And there's just a lot of opportunities and a lot of funding resources here at USDA. So I always tell people, if you have a project in a rural area, you know, give us a call. We'll look through our various programs and see if there's something that we can help with. And then on here in the slide, there's a link to the 2019 report of tribal success stories that you can also take a look at and see what we've done. Advance the slide, please. Here's the contact information to get in contact with your local USDA Rural Development Office. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brenda, for your presentation and information. Now we'd like to go into question and answer period here. If you have any questions of any of our panelists, please post them. I'm not seeing them. I think MJ, so you're going to have to take over.
No worries. Thanks, Bruno. Let's start with the top. So we have a question from Pete Belvin. How many tribal utility authority entities have started under the TEDC grant program? Peyton, I think if you can take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually typing a response and then I figured I better wait until the end. So currently we have 7 tribal utilities that are currently operating right now in some capacity, and we have more than 30 projects that are active. So we've had the TEDC program active in some capacity for about 5 years, and utility development really is a 3 to 5 year process, we've learned. So we have a ton of active projects that are looking into utility development, and already a few under our belt. And the last time I looked at the numbers, there's about $20 million of power sales that those utilities are engaged in. So we've issued $6 million. So that's a pretty good return there. So
thanks, Peyton. And I wanted to let everybody know that the recording of this session and all the other sessions in the conference, as well as slide decks, will be available on the MTERA site after the fact. So if you're looking for any contact information and that sort of thing, it will be available soon. Let's move on. I see Marcello is asking about the funding for anaerobic digesters. Is it based on the size of the digester or the kilowatt hour produced? Brenda, I think that one would be a good one for you.
Sure. So we do have a scoring process, so it is a good question. All technologies compete for the same pool of money, regardless if it's a RES, renewable energy system, or energy efficiency improvement. And the score sheet is really, it's all or nothing. So if you have a $2 million project and you want to ask for $500,000, it's all based on the score sheet and the BTUs it's going to produce, things of that nature. And then that will determine if it competes. So it's not necessarily on the kilowatts produced.
Sure. And then Brenda, we have another question here for you specifically. How competitive is the USDA grant program? Can USDA pay for the feasibility study? And do you require an EPA to be conducted on new energy projects?
Sure. So on the feasibility study component, the only time we'd really be able to pay for that is through that REDA program, that Rural Energy Development Assistance. So indirectly, what happens with that program, the tribe could apply, and then it would have recipients that would receive that money from the tribe. And so then that's an indirect way that that recipient would be able to fund their feasibility report. And then you kind of cut out on the second part of the question. Was it PPA agreements?
NEPA, NEPA.
Oh, NEPA. Okay. Yes, we do require the NEPA review. And it's all based, it's changed a little bit now, where we're looking at the size of acreage as part of determining what level of review. But all of our projects, we have to look at the environmental impacts. And that could be, is a wind turbine have a lattice tower? Are there birds going to be nesting? Are we in a flight pattern? Are we trying to build panels in a wetland? We also have to contact the State Historical Preservation Office. We have to contact the Tribal Historical Preservation Office. So there's a whole an environmental review on our projects. And the bigger they get, the more involved they are. And public notifications have to happen.
For sure, that makes sense. And then this question, I think really anybody can answer this. How can cost barriers for tribes applying for federal funding be lowered? Could preliminary concept papers be reviewed to encourage full applications, more likely to succeed before requiring complete supporting documentation? How can the process be streamlined? So if any of you have any insight on that, I think would be helpful.
Well, I know at least for DEMD's grants, we do encourage you to contact DEMD prior to submission of your grant to talk about your project, what your goals are, and please do reach out prior to submitting. I believe we have some people who will actually review and comment on draft grant proposals and then recuse themselves from the review process. And I think that's pretty unique to DEMD. But I can only answer for my program. So.
Very fair. Does anybody else have any insight on that? Brenda or Josh? Or even Bruno, if you have any insight on that, feel free.
Well, there's several.
This is Lizana.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bruno.
I was just going to say
This
there's
is
also.
Lizana.
Lizana, go ahead.
Okay. You know, because the Department of Energy Office of Indian Energy Grant Program is competitive, we can't necessarily help, you know, you develop a grant application. What we can do, though, is provide technical assistance sort of for the concept, you know, side of it, or resource pre-feasibility, things like that as well. I think what's been mentioned before a lot of times is, you know, applicants that have gotten funding from DEMD, you know, and got their business plans, both financial and technical, you know, are then primed to provide applications to the Office of Indian Energy for hardware. Go ahead, Bruno.
I was just going to mention the free hours with NREL through an application. Also, Lizana and Peyton, Josh, I've ran into a wall with our solar project, and we applied for some energy assistance with the National Renewable Energy Lab, and we have Tom Harris and a few of his engineers got on the phone with me, and then we had a chat with the local utility in a room with our engineers, the utilities engineers, and NREL, and solved the problem. It was the inverter technology, which was already being accepted in California and Hawaii as code, and it wasn't in the Midwest. So we ushered the first project in the Midwest using smart inverter technology to go on the grid. Because of that, basically a format of a form, filling it out and handing it in, and getting online with the right people. So thank goodness for both the Department of Energy and the Indian Energy Office Division of Energy and Mineral Development staff to help me with that.
That's a good point. And I'm just going to remind everybody that on Friday, we also do have the workshops with NREL, representatives of NREL. So, you know, questions there would also be a good time. They're going to have sessions as well as some time for some good conversations. So, you know, if you have time on Friday, please bring that energy. I see another question here about new funding programs. Are there any new funding programs expected in 2021 and 2022? And will there be any delay in announcing annual grant funding programs in these years due to COVID?
As far as
Go ahead.
How about Josh and then Brenda?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sure that, you know, we'll be announcing for both the TEDC program and the EMDP probably, you know, toward the end of the summer here, I would imagine. Obviously, I don't have any dates. We just recently closed, relatively recently closed solicitations for both those programs back in September and December. And so those are kind of just now getting kicked off, and but I would imagine that toward the end of the summer we'll, or maybe even before, we'll have some dates, but we will be announcing most likely.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Brenda?
Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to say, you know, here at USDA for the Rural Energy for America program, our grants are usually due each year, October 31st and March 31st. Sometimes that date moves on a holiday or weekend, but I don't see things delayed. We're moving things along. And the other thing, one change that might be coming, I don't know the final comments on this, but they just had the other day, last week Friday, a rural energy pilot program that they're talking about, and they were taking comments. So there is a federal register out there. If people want to comment on that. I know the comments are due though by the 29th. But that,
Oh,
yeah,
coming up.
right. But your comments could change how USDA's programs look. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Very true. Lizana, I think I heard you trying to chime in. Do you have something to add?
Yeah. I would think that there's going to be quite a few changes in fiscal year 2022 once the budget is released and so forth. I can't imagine there isn't going to be quite a bit of funding for Indigenous and underserved communities. I don't believe there's any, delays per se caused by COVID as well. I know that this last year there's been delays, but I wouldn't envision there would be in the future.
Sure. And then following up on that, I see another question here asking about the grants, the last round of grants from the September and December submissions, if they have been awarded yet. And if not, does anyone know when that will happen? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm guessing you're talking about the ones that I mentioned. Yes, the TEDC grants have been awarded. Tribal leadership has been notified of those awards, and I believe most projects are now getting started. The EMDP awards are still in the process of getting put out there in public. So that's still in the process, but the TEDC awards have been awarded publicly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lizana, if we could swing back to you, we have a quick question here for you about the next DOE Tribal Energy Deployment FOA expected. When will it be expected to be released? And do you anticipate any other similar FOAs that could fund tribal energy deployment to come out in this fiscal year?
That's again, difficult to anticipate. A lot of it's going to depend on congressional appropriations. I would hope that we would have, a similar funding opportunity announcement, possibly, different funding opportunity announcements depending on, the level of funding we have as well. But the best thing is to get on our listserv, go to our, main page and subscribe for email newsletters to find out about that. So I'm sorry, I don't have a definitive answer. My apologies.
That's okay, thank you. There's quite a handful of more questions and we just have a few more minutes, so I'm going to try to get to as many as we can. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, we'll get contact information available after the fact. And, I've heard Peyton and Josh repeatedly say, please reach out. They're willing to talk. I see another question here about obtaining funding or tech support for technology that has not yet been proven in the certain application, but has been proven in other applications. Is there any means of obtaining funding in these situations?
This is Lizana. For our programs, we're looking for, commercial technology readiness level 9 technologies. There are R&D programs within the Department of Energy, depending on the, technology you're speaking of. That might be a source to look at.
Thank you.
Not sure we answered that question, but.
I think that was good. Thank you. Just a few more questions. I think, Brenda, this one might be for you. Would solar air furnaces be eligible for funding?
I might need to ask some questions about that. So does that mean that it's solar powered by electricity, or is that just like, I need to know more about it. I haven't awarded it a solar air furnace. So if you'd like to call me, if it's proven commercial technology that's off the shelf and everyone's doing it and you're replicating it, it's probably going to be eligible for our funding. But if it's something new and emerging, unfortunately, the USDA Rural Energy for America program could not fund it.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Panelists, if you are comfortable with it, feel free to put your contact information in the chat. I know we didn't have the chance to get to every question. There was quite a few questions just because we ran out of time, but thank you everybody for attending. We are now going to have a 15-minute break until the next session. But with that, thank you so much, Bruno, and all of our panelists. We really appreciate it. And, get up, take a break, go to the bathroom, have some coffee, whatever you need to do. And we hope to see you at the next session. So panelists, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Mike, I'm going to hop on the next one in just a minute, but I'm going to hold this Zoom open until most everybody has left and had a chance to look at all of the chat things. So I will be with you in a little bit on the next Zoom.
Thanks, MJ.
Yeah.
I'll buzz off.
I'll see you in the next
Thanks
Zoom.
for monitoring all those texts. I know I've been monitoring texts and emails and everything too, but
I know.
it's driving you crazy, I'm sure, but thank you.
That's all right. We're just doing our best. I'll see you in the next one soon.